Hello, it's his Volk! Time to enjoy card making with me! In today's video I will show you how to make a bunch of nice cards. I will be using AlinaCraft's Mandala stencils and turn them into Christmas cards. Using glitter paste, I used the light brown that looks like copper and the silver color, in combination with Christmas sentiments on stamps and dies. Are you ready for new card making fun? Here I have a package of the MTL1 Mandala stencils. There are 16 Mandala stencils in one package. The stencils I have contain numbers 17 till 32. When I ordered them, it was color number 3. If you are interested, links for it are in the description below this video. There are many other sets as well. I do find the circles very useful as a sort of Christmas ornament on a card. They are so beautiful I can hardly choose, so this will be another video with multiple cards again. The ones with a round circle in the middle you can also leave blank and put a sentiment inside. You don't have to use the whole circle, you can also use half the stencil. I will be using water-based inks for blending and add glitter paste. But you can make these cards with any inks you have and do without the glitters, or just feel inspired by my cards. The first card I'm going to make is 13.5 cm square. On this card I want to stamp a text in the center before I start working with the stencil. This stamp set contains many beautiful useful Christmas texts. This circular one I want to use to stamp in the center of the mandala. I'm going to work directly on the double folded card. The stencil is a little bigger than my card, but that is okay. There are all kinds of ways to find the center of the paper. You can draw a cross, you can put a paper on it that you fold diagonally or mark it off with a ruler. I choose the quickest way. I find the center by checking that on all sides the pattern extends the same distance over the edge. Then I draw a circle in the center, which I will erase later. For convenience, I stamp with Versamark and a clear block and stamp in the center of the circle I just drew. Now if you find it hard to aim well in the middle and straight, I recommend using a stamping platform. Then you can also stamp more often on the same spot if your stamping result isn't crisp all at once. I'm a fan of heat embossing, so I also make my text nice and shiny by adding transparent embossing powder from AlinaCraft and heat emboss it before ink blending. Just wait a moment for it to allow to cool. Then I carefully erase the guideline. You don't want to go over the pencil line with ink. If you would do so, then you can't erase the pencil anymore. I placed stencil number 17 on the center of the card. I used the AlinaCraft mini blending brushes, and using 2 colors of water-based red ink, I colored this bauble. First I ink blended the 2 outer edges with the lightest color. Ink blend in light circular motions and do carefully on the edges, because the stencils are very delicate because of all the thin shapes. Then I ink blended the inner circle edge with a darker color red, that is over the lighter color. And finally, with a larger ink blend brush, I once again spread the remaining ink well and smeared the last remaining ink very lightly over the edge of the center. Be careful not to go over the text, you want to keep it white. Now I go over this with the silver glitter paste from AlinaCraft. I use a silicone spatula for this that I bought at a kitchenware store. I would like more of these in multiple sizes, because it works very conveniently to spread the paste on the stencil, and you can also clean it very easily, even after the glitter paste has already dried. Very carefully I spread the glitter paste on the stencil. I must say that I am not very good at working with paste on stencils yet, but I'm doing my best. And practice makes perfect, doesn't it? Although it's actually quite easy. I try not to smear the paste on the center. Actually, it's better to mask the center with a circle of masking tape beforehand. Then you can be sure to stay within the lines. Today I guess I was a little lazy and in a hurry to do that. You can apply this glitter paste thinly or very thickly. It does dry very quickly, so in that respect it's also important that you work fairly quickly. The leftover can easily go back into the jar and I twist the lid tightly shut so it doesn't dry out. A reveal of a stencil is always so exciting to do. Look how beautiful it shines. The result is really wonderful. I touch up some small spots after I quickly cleaned my work surface and rinsed the stencil under the tap. Where needed, I can use a sharp little tool to scrape away some glitter paste that is still damp now. Now I regret not cutting out a circle first and placing it under the stencil to protect the center. I'm also going to decorate the envelope, and before I start working on that, I first place a piece of sturdy paper inside the envelope. This keeps the seams on the back from pushing through to the front, and some of the moisture from the glitter paste is absorbed into the paper, so the back stays dry. The stencil is completely clean and dry again. I put a narrow section of the stencil on the envelope. You can also do it on the bottom or on the flap of the envelope, just what you like. It just makes the card just a little bit fancier. Again, I blend a small border first with the light color and then with the dark color. With a larger brush, I blend out all the ink. I also apply some glitter paste to this. You can see that the thinner envelope paper has bulged a bit because the moisture of the paper has soaked into the paper. This will go away when it's dry, and if it doesn't, just put it under a pile of books for a while after drying. For the next card, I'm going to stamp the same round Merry Christmas sentiment on a circular die-cut shape. With a clear block it is a little more difficult to stamp exactly in the middle, so I am doing this in my stamping platform. Since I want to heat emboss, I powder the die-cut circle with talcum powder first. I stamp with VersaFine ink and heat emboss with AlinaCraft transparent embossing powder. Before I put the heat tool on, I first blow off the excess loose powders from the paper and in the meantime make sure the heat tool is well warmed up. This time I take stencil number 19. My card is again 13.5 cm square card. On all sides the same amount of stencil protrudes over the edges, so I can see that it's in the middle. I have sped up this part because I understand that it can be quite boring to look at the same thing all the time. First let's ink a light green color into the shapes that look like leaves. Then ink blend the rest with yellow. Let's see the result so far. In the middle it should be darker to make it look more like a sphere. With a slightly darker shade of green I go over it in the middle. A little tricky when covering the middle again, of course, so I therefore blend everything so I can see the gradient in color easier. In between I clean my stencil briefly to keep my ink pad and blending brushes clean. I think some extra color needs to be added, it is a bit dull. The easiest way to do that is to choose a color that is in between or next to it in the rainbow or on a color chart. I choose orange. By coloring the inner and outer parts orange and leaving the middle yellow, you also create depth. I also applied the silver glitter paste here. And also with this card, I made the mistake of not masking the parts. There is a small spot there. I can easily cover it up with a white Posca marker. Or I could have used Tipp-Ex. Hardly visible once it's on. The text circle can be glued on with glue. Briefly check that it's well centered. I use a clear block to press it briefly and then I put something heavy on top of it. Watch my video about 10 tips on working with clear blocks if you haven't seen it yet. You will find a link for it below this video in the description. With this envelope it's not going to happen to me again that I mess up, so I tape the edges with some post-it memos. The blending and glitter paste goes the same way. Again, the bumpy part pulls away after drying, and I put it under a heavy stack of books for a while. Now quickly back to cleaning the stencil and the work surface. The card is now dry. I want to decorate it some more. Yes, it gets even prettier. This jar of silver gems contains 4 different sizes of gems, and let one of them be exactly the same size as the blackberries in the wreath. I leave some of them black, otherwise it will be too busy. How cute this looks! See how beautifully it shines! The shiny embossed text matches the shiny glitter paste beautifully. The envelope is still wet right now. The silver gems give it just that little something extra. This really is a favorite card of mine. What do you think? I also made this card, for which I used stencil number 18. I did not mask off the center and I stamped the text directly over the ink blending and then heat embossed it. I also stamped all the corners with the same stamp, that way you can see the pattern repeat. No glitter paste or extra gems on this card, but still turned out very cool too. I am very happy with it. Here I have a 10.5 by 15 cm card. No ink blending, just silver glitter paste. It is stencil number 23, which I used half on the card. So this one can dry for a moment. In the meantime, I make a small piece of homemade glitter paper. And you'll have to pay attention to see what I'm going to use this for later when it's dry. I'm going to show you how to easily stamp a text on a strip and trim it into a banner. I really like this little text with season greetings to all of you. I stamp with Versamark ink, which allows you to get a nice crisp print in one go. I line the stamp along the edge of the paper. Then I put a line where I want to cut. If you look closely, you can see the line I made sticking out and running straight along the cutting board. When the paper is straight against the top and I push down the support lever, I can lower the cutting blade. With a guillotine you can't always clearly see where you are cutting, but having a guideline like that helps tremendously. Now lay the strip down on its side on your workmat or checkered paper. This way you can easily see from the squares where the center is, and you can now make a mark very easily. And likewise on the other side. On this line you make a cut in the paper. Not too far, because how far you cut determines the shape of the banner. And then you cut from the corner of the paper to the middle point. And similarly on the other side. I find cutting upside down easier, but for the result it is nicer if you cut on the right side, although I can touch up the seams with a bone folder. See how pretty the glitter paper turned out? I didn't have the patience to wait for the glitter paste to dry by itself, so I gave drying a hand with the heat tool. Unfortunately it did bubble a bit from that, but that's okay, because I'm going to stick it on the back with double-sided tape and then cut it out with these beautiful text dies from AlinaCraft. This text I chose is Merry Christmas, but there's also peace, joy, hope, faith and belief. I'm going to stick the banner text strip on the glitter paper too, that way it will have a nice matching border. I will die cut the text twice, once from the paper with glitter paste and once from black paper, both with double-sided tape on the back. It is really a very patient job to stick this text on the right way. I like it so much that it's worth it. But I show it briefly sped up so you can get an idea of how to stick it on. Getting the sentiment out of its shape can also be quite a hassle. Try to manage to cut out all of the pieces you don't need. Because these sentiments are so delicate, you want to use a needle or thin tool to hold it in place and not have your hands rip off the double-sided tape or tear the sentiment. Get all the inner pieces of the letters out as well. Hover with the needle above the spot you want to stick it. In my case, I stick the sentiment somewhat shifted on top of the silver one. Only when you press firmly on the die cut sentiment, it is stuck. Until then, you can still shift it a bit to its right place. I glued the homemade banner on the homemade glitter paper and now I trim it to the same size. I now very easily put a small cut in the middle first. Then I put 2 cuts from the corner to the middle. Very easy. I taped up the banner with 3D foam tape and in the meantime my envelope has dried fairly well. As a decoration, the beautiful transparent dewdrops fit in well. I could also have used silver ones, but I think they are a bit too silver, so I left it at the translucent ones. Here you see them side by side, silver and translucent. I don't know if you like the black and white with silver card, but this is how it can be done. Here I made another similar card, using the light brown copper colored glitter paste, which I applied with this stencil, and that's number 30. On the envelope I only stenciled a corner and on the card only half. Here, like the silver version, I applied the glitter paste directly to the card. I didn't even have to put this one under a stack of books. As a sentiment I chose peace, and on it I glued the same text, not in black but in white. Here you see all the cards I made today. I hope I have given you an idea to create Christmas cards with mandala stencils and have the glitter paste give it the shine and shimmer we all like in the Christmas season. If you would like to see more ideas about using stencils or glitter pastes, I encourage you to watch an earlier video of mine. The link for this is in the description. You will also find links to the products I used in the description. If you are going to shop on AliExpress, please click on one of my links. I will earn a few cents commission with this and it will cost you nothing extra. Thank you for watching my video to the end. Go watch some other videos I made. And if you have seen them all, I hope to see you again soon. Bye bye! Until next time!